All right, another storm, another video. I'm going to try to beat the announcements here. So, spoiler alert: this storm's not going to hit us, not in New York. And let's talk about why. So if we look at temperature maps, you would expect this warm air to rise right up the coast and track the exact way that storms have been tracking this year, which I'm sure is why the forecast was that this storm was going to hit us, several days ago. But every time things don't go according to plan, it's a good opportunity to ask the question why. And so what we're kind of seeing here is this really cold air up here. Hot air and cold air is not going to mix, and this colder air right here is kind of preventing these storms from cruising up the coast. And so for the first time, we're going to look at the jet stream. So the jet stream, this like high altitude, like fast moving, always from west to east because of Earth's rotation, kind of river of air in our atmosphere. If we kind of focus on this area right here, the colors are just velocity. So we're looking at the white arrows here. From South Texas to northeast, like Mexico here, this is like a pivotal point right now, just right now, for how the jet stream is kind of set up. So if we have a storm that is shifted further north into like South Texas or Central Texas, it's going to kind of take this like northern road that is set up currently in the jet stream. I'm sure it's not going to be like this next week, but just currently this is how things are working. And if it's kind of South Texas to like Northeast Mexico here, it's going to take this southern road where it's going to kind of hit like Florida, Georgia area, and then go out to the Atlantic Ocean. If we look at the positioning of this storm right now, and if you look at it over the last couple of days, the storm is really in the zone where jet stream, the zone where we're right here in kind of like Georgia, North Texas area, up North Florida area. And so it's going to track right out with these white lines right here, right out to the Atlantic Ocean. And it's probably a good thing because although I'm sure the skiers and snowboarders would like big pow days here, the storm is actually carrying a fair amount of moisture. If we look at like the 7-day totals, we're looking at huge amounts of moisture being dropped from this storm. And if you've been following the news out in California, they're having severe flooding right now, just because of the high moisture content of these kind of storms that we're seeing right now. All right. So anyway, in closing, because I'm going to talk about something else for a second too. In closing, this storm right here, tracking pretty much west to east. We got this cap right here, this cold air cap that's not going to let this storm cut up the coast. So really nothing for us to be worried about. This guy is further north. I think this storm might pick up kind of like that northern jet stream here, but look at how little he is. He's a tiny little guy. I wouldn't expect much damage from this storm, but we'll keep an eye on this storm. Also, there's a storm right over here with the Pacific Northwest, but that's for later. Okay. Just want to point out, if you've been kind of watching my forecasts here this winter, you should be familiar with this. We're seeing history repeat itself here. We've got another really cold air mass that's kind of setting itself up. We've seen storms kind of enter the U.S. in the Pacific Northwest right around the bottom of this storm. And then last time we didn't have this kind of long-standing eastern kind of cold air mass here. It just kind of scooted right back up. And so we saw just this scooting up of storms. As this shifts from west to east, eventually it's going to get over us. We're going to have really cold temps. But we're also going to see storms start to track right along this as well. And so the big thing for us to look at is going to be this extension here, this cold extension to the east off of this cold air mass. If this warm air kind of forces this north and we get this greener temperature to kind of scoot up, then we're going to see the storms continue to track the way they have been this year. If this cold air kind of wins here and pushes down, we're going to see the storms track way south of us. And that's going to kind of set up what our weather is going to be like for the next week or two in the Northeast. And this was a slow-moving air mass last time, so you'd imagine it might be a slow-moving air mass again this time. So a lot of uncertainty as we move ahead, although pretty certain on this one, this guy's not going to hit us today. So kind of weird stuff. Stay tuned, and we'll talk about this storm over here in the Pacific Northwest, and we'll keep an eye on this guy right here over the next couple days.